Ever looked through a telescope and wondered just how those lenses actually, work?
Yeah, it really makes you appreciate the science behind it.
Totally. Or even just, the detail you can see under a microscope.
It's incredible, isn't it?
Well, we have optical engineers to thank for that. And that's what we're diving into today, the world of optical engineering. And trust me, it's a lot cooler than just glasses. Haha.
Way cooler.
We're checking out these guides from RoleCatcher. It's a career platform, and they have some interesting takes on what this career is all about.
Oh, cool. What have they got to say?
Well, one thing that really stood out to me, and it's kind of poetic when you think about it, is how optical engineering brings together physics and actual technology.
I never thought of it like that, but it's true. It's like where that kind of abstract beauty of physics meets what's the word, like that tangible impact of tech.
Yeah, exactly. Abstract beauty meeting tangible impact and stealing that. So it's about way more than just memorizing equations.
Oh, for sure. It's about taking something really complex, say the laws of light refraction, and using that knowledge to design something like the perfect lens for a telescope.
So they're the ones making those, oh wow, moments happen when you look at the stars.
Exactly. It all comes down to the work of an optical engineer.
That's pretty amazing. So if you are an optical engineer, what are you actually doing all day?
Well, the RoleCatcher guides use words like design, develop, test, analyze, so it seems pretty hands-on.
Definitely not just sitting at a desk then.
No way. This is a super active career path, constantly problem-solving, innovating, and really pushing the limits of what we can do with light.
I'm getting the feeling it's not your average 9 to 5.
Yeah, you could say that. It's pretty demanding, but in a really exciting way. At least it seems that way to me.
Well, every job has its ups and downs, right?
Right.
So let's be real. What does RoleCatcher say about the pros and cons of this field?
Well, on the plus side, it seems like everyone's looking for skilled optical engineers.
High demand, good for anyone looking at this field.
Yeah, and the projects sound fascinating. Plus, the earning potential is strong.
So good money and cool projects sounds pretty tempting.
Definitely. But, and this is a big but, it's not easy. You need to love learning and be ready to get deep into some complicated stuff.
So you've really got to have a passion for physics, always be learning new things.
Oh, absolutely. It's not for everyone, that's for sure.
Out of those pros and cons, what would you say stands out the most to you?
Honestly. You've got to be someone who really gets a thrill out of the science behind it all, someone who sees challenges as something fun, and who really wants to be pushing the boundaries of technology.
Yeah, you've got to have that drive. Okay, let's say someone is listening and they're totally hooked. They're like, this is it. This is what I want to do. What's their first step? How do you actually become an optical engineer?
Well, like I said, you have to love to learn because a strong educational background is key.
Yeah.
We're talking physics, optics, and engineering. You're going to need at least a bachelor's degree to get started.
So if you're thinking about optical engineering, it's time to hit the books.
Exactly.
And that's where something like RoleCatcher could be super helpful, right? I mean, they have those AI features that can analyze job postings and tell you exactly what skills you need.
Oh, that's super useful. You definitely don't want to be playing catch-up in such a competitive field.
No kidding. But it's not just about a bachelor's degree, is it?
Right. A lot of optical engineers go on to get even more specialized with a master's degree or even a PhD.
Which makes sense. The
Yeah.
more you know, the more specialized you can become.
Totally. And that's what's so cool about this career path. You can really make it your own.
Okay, so we've talked about what they do day to day and the education, but we both know there's more to it than just technical skills, right?
Yeah.
What about those all-important soft skills?
Oh, absolutely. You can't forget about those. You can be a total whiz with lasers, but if you can't work with a team, forget about it.
So true. RoleCatcher really emphasized those soft skills, communication, teamwork, problem solving.
Yeah, those are non-negotiables. It's not like you're stuck in a lab by yourself all day. You're collaborating with engineers from all different disciplines.
Right. And probably explaining those crazy complex designs to people who don't speak lasers.
Exactly. Like, imagine trying to get a marketing team excited about a new lens coating.
Talk about a challenge. Okay, so someone is starting out in their optical engineering career. What does that path look like?
Well, RoleCatcher lays out a pretty typical trajectory, starting with a junior optical engineer position.
So you're fresh out of school. What are you actually doing in that kind of role?
It's a lot of learning the ropes, really.
Yeah.
You're assisting the more senior engineers, getting involved in research projects, and probably doing a ton of testing and evaluating.
So it's like a real-world crash course in optical engineering.
You could say that. Then, as you get more experience under your belt, You typically move into a full-fledged optical engineer role.
So more responsibility, bigger projects.
Totally. At this point, you're designing entire optical systems, running simulations, really taking ownership of your work.
Okay, I can picture it now, surrounded by blueprints, maybe a prototype or two. What about the people who want to climb that career ladder even higher? What does leadership look like in this field?
That's when you step into the senior optical engineer role. You're the one leading teams, making sure entire projects stay on track, even managing budgets, and of course, collaborating with all those external partners.
It sounds like a pretty demanding role.
For sure, but also super rewarding. And speaking of rewarding, I was reading one of the example profiles in RoleCatcher about a senior optical engineer who led this team that developed a new lens coating drastically reduced glare.
Wow, that's amazing. What an accomplishment.
Right. It just goes to show the kind of impact you can have. And then, of course, there's the top of the mountain principal optical engineer.
Those are the real movers and shakers of the optical engineering world.
Exactly. The visionaries, they're guiding the research, setting the strategies, basically influencing the future of the whole field.
It's amazing to think how far you can go from that junior position all the way to leading the pack. And RoleCatcher actually shows you that progression, right, with those detailed profiles.
Yeah. Seeing what those real-life career paths look like can be so motivating, way more than just seeing a job title on a screen.
Totally. So we've talked about this career path, but you mentioned earlier that you can specialize within optical engineering. What are we talking about here? Like, what are some of the specific areas you could focus on?
Oh, there are tons. It's kind of mind-blowing how many directions you can go. Like, you could specialize in laser optics.
Okay, lasers, so cool.
Right. You could be working on anything from, like, the latest telecommunications systems to the lasers they use in surgery.
Wait, lasers in surgery? I mean, that's got to be so precise.
Insanely precise.
Yeah.
The people designing and calibrating those instruments, they really know their stuff.
That's amazing. Are there any other cool specializations?
Oh, yeah, tons. There's fiber optics.
Fiber optics, isn't that like all about internet and stuff?
Pretty much. It's how we transmit data at crazy fast speeds through these tiny glass fibers. High-speed internet, global communication networks, all that. It's all based on fiber optics.
Wow, that's wild. Light carrying that much information is hard to wrap your head around.
It really is. Oh, and we can't forget about imaging systems.
Okay, yeah, imaging is huge.
Huge is an understatement. It's all about using optics to create images. I mean, think about it. The cameras in our phones, the high-tech medical imaging stuff they use to diagnose diseases, it all comes back to optics.
Speaking of medical stuff, I remember reading something in RoleCatcher about how optical engineers can even be involved in, like, finding new ways to diagnose diseases with light.
Oh, totally. Like, imagine being on a team that develops some new kind of endoscope, right? And it uses light to detect cancer cells super early.
Wow, you're not just pushing the boundaries of technology, you're actually, like, saving lives.
That's the thing about optical engineering. It has a real impact.
Definitely. Okay, so for all our listeners out there who are totally interested in this field now, what advice would you give them? Where should they start?
Honestly, RoleCatcher is a great place to start. They have these super in-depth guides that explain the field, the skills you need, all the different career paths, all that good stuff.
It's like having a personalized career counselor right in your pocket.
Exactly. Plus, they can help you tailor your resume, your cover letter, all that, so you can really stand out.
Oh, for sure. You've got to emphasize those skills employers are looking for.
Absolutely. And, networking never hurts. Try to connect with some people who are already working in optical engineering. You can learn so much from their experiences.
Couldn't agree more. Well, this has been an absolutely fascinating deep dive into the world of optical engineering. As we wrap things up, what's the one thing you hope everyone takes away from this conversation?
That optical engineering is about way more than just, optics. It's about harnessing this powerful force, this light, to create new things, solve big problems, and really make a difference in the world.
I love that, harnessing the power of light. It sounds almost, I don't know, kind of magical when you put it that way.
A little bit, right?
It kind of is. So if you're someone who loves science, who thrives on challenges, and who wants a career that can really make an impact, optical engineering might be your calling. This has been awesome. Thanks so much for joining us for this illuminating deep dive into the world of optical engineering.
Thanks for having me. This was fun.